In the previous chapter, we saw Danking Shen reveal his frustration over the sealing of the sacred mine by the exalted double dragons, thwarting his plans. To Zhuo Fan's surprise, Danking Shen demanded his help, insisting he be smuggled inside by hiding in Zhuo Fan's storage ring. Despite Zhuo Fan's protests, it seemed he had little choice but to comply with the enigmatic senior's bold plan. Let's begin the chapter. What? Startled, Zhuo Fan waved his hands frantically in refusal. No way, absolutely not. My ring can only hold items, not living beings. Even if you give me a living storage ring, they'll find out. And besides, why would I suddenly change my ring? That alone would make them suspicious. There's just too much that could go wrong. He shook his head nonstop, determined to avoid being roped into this reckless plan. I already gave this old coot a map, he thought to himself. It's just an item, so even if the Double Dragon Manor gets their hands on it, it won't lead back to me. Unless Danking Shen runs his mouth. But Zhuo Fan knew better. The best in the Western lands wasn't someone who could be caught so easily. Satisfied with his earlier decision, Zhuo Fan had felt safe helping Danking Shen. He'd handed over the map, knowing it would get the old man off his back. Yet this was a completely different matter. If the Double Dragon Manor uncovered this, he'd lose everything. It made no sense to take such a risk for nothing. Zhuo Fan's only thought now was to put as much distance as possible between himself and this old man. Ideally, they'd never cross paths again. But Danking Shen wasn't going to let him off so easily. The old man scoffed, his voice sharp. Boy, as a team leader, even if you come from a lower 3 sect, who'd believe you only have such a puny storage ring? What do you take me for, a 3-year-old? No one would buy that excuse. Danking Shen's gaze pierced right through Zhuo Fan's ploy. You're trying to run away, aren't you? Too late for that now. Zhuo Fan sighed. Senior, you don't understand. I'm just a laborer back at the sect. That Hui Xiong from the beast-taming sect wasn't lying. He fought all our elites, and with no other option, we from the labor office had to step in. But we're all just laborers. There's not much we can do. Danking Shen sneered. A gang of mere laborers wipe the floor with the middle 3 sects and lower 3 sects elites? Try telling that story to the world and see how the other disciples react. The old man's face turned sinister as he added, Boy, you're already in this with me. You have no choice but to help. Once I get the sacred sword and leave, you're free of me. But if you don't cooperate, when I do get the sword, I'll make sure everyone knows who gave me that map. I'll even thank you publicly. Ha ha ha. His laughter was pure malice. Zhuo Fan's face twitched. He let out another sigh and nodded reluctantly. It seems I don't have much of a choice. I'm stuck with you. That's better, Danking Shen said, his grin widening. There's no way my gift was going to waste. But Zhuo Fan frowned. Senior, if I do help, how will you escape? This time the opponents aren't easy. They won't give us any breathing room. And there are monitoring arrays everywhere. The moment you appear, you'll be exposed. Danking Shen chuckled. Don't worry. Thanks to your words last time, I've come up with a plan. We'll create a diversion. You'll fight with all you've got in the battles and, amidst the chaos, throw the ring into a monitoring array's blind spot. Then just lure everyone's attention away. Once they're all chasing you, I'll slip away and head straight for the sacred mine. Out of sight, out of mind, Zhuo Fan's brow twitched. He couldn't help but nod. Wasn't that the same trick I used before? He thought. If it worked once, it could work again. Still, something felt off. Senior, Zhuo Fan said hesitantly, I already defeated Yan Mo once. The disciples from the 9 sects aren't that big of a threat. But there's one person, Ye Lin, Danking Shen interrupted, already guessing what Zhuo Fan was about to say. Zhuo Fan nodded. Exactly. Ye Lin is on a completely different level. Even I feel like I'm no match for him. If I throw the ring too soon, it'll look suspicious. But if I wait until I'm fighting Ye Lin, it'll seem more natural, like an accident. Danking Shen narrowed his eyes. Making excuses again, boy? You sure are crafty. The old man knew the double dragon manners exalted double dragons monitored everything. While a sudden ring throw might raise some eyebrows, it wouldn't be enough to halt the matches and investigate. They weren't that paranoid. By the time anyone thought to look into it, Danking Shen would be long gone. Zhuo Fan would be left to face the fallout alone. Danking Shen had never intended to stick around once he got what he wanted. But he had to admit, Zhuo Fan's quick thinking impressed him. Still, neither man openly acknowledged the other's true intentions. Perhaps feeling a bit guilty for planning to ditch Zhuo Fan, Danking Shen decided to offer some advice. Yi Lin is strong, no doubt about it. But he hasn't shown his full strength yet, so I can't say for sure how powerful he really is. That golden flame of his, though, it's strange. You must be extremely cautious of it. I already have a way to counter that golden flame, Zhuo Fan replied. The real issue is his soul form. I assume it's a heaven dragon soul, but how do two heaven dragon souls even fight? I don't have enough experience with this. Senior, I need your guidance. Danking Shen's expression shifted. What? He has a heaven dragon soul? How do you know? Zhuo Fan nodded firmly. His master is the grand decimating dragon ancestor. Wouldn't he naturally inherit a heaven dragon soul? The thought made Zhuo Fan's heart sink. If Yi Lin had such a powerful soul and a master like the dragon ancestor guiding him, how could he possibly win? Danking Shen could see the desperation in Zhuo Fan's eyes. Fine, he said with a sigh. Since you're risking so much for me, I'll do my best to help. The old man paused before asking, Zhuo Fan, do you know swordsmanship? Zhuo Fan hesitated, then muttered under his breath. Just a little. Danking Shen sighed deeply. That's unfortunate. My first soul was a sword. After years of immersion, I combined it with my heaven dragon soul to create the dragon-cleaving art. It's an unrivaled technique. If you knew swordsmanship, I could have taught you how to blend it with your dragon soul. You'd be unstoppable, even against that golden flame. But without it... What a shame. Zhuo Fan's face twitched. Senior, no disrespect, but Yi Lin's master undoubtedly has a deeper understanding of the heaven dragon soul than you do. I don't need anything complex, just advice on how to fight another heaven dragon soul. Danking Shen chuckled dryly. Boy, you're wrong if you think it's all about mastery. The heaven dragon soul is strong, but its true strength depends on the user. Otherwise, the Western lands would rule the world. What truly matters is your cultivation and understanding. And don't underestimate your perspective. Even if his master is extraordinary, that doesn't mean his understanding of the dragon soul aligns with yours. Different people wield the same power in different ways. Find your unique approach, and you might stand a chance. Zhuo Fan stood there, stunned. It was as if a light had gone on in his mind. Zhuo Fan stood silently for a long time, his gaze fixed and contemplative. Then his eyes suddenly gleamed with realization. He drew a sharp breath and said, I understand now, Senior. Yi Lin might have the purest heaven dragon soul, while mine is more unconventional. He has the most orthodox soul, and mine, well, it's second-rate. But just because my dragon soul isn't pure doesn't mean it's weaker. In fact, it might even be stronger. Don't you think? Danking Shen raised an eyebrow and shook his head with a slight smile. You've got the right idea. But can't you choose your words better? Calling your dragon soul second-rate makes it sound like my dragon soul, blended with a sword, is ugly. This isn't just a random mix, it's evolution. Zhuo Fan nodded, a newfound clarity shining in his expression. He thought, that's true. In this world, no one understands the power of dragon souls better than the decimating dragon ancestor. But while he taught Yi Lin to use the dragon soul's full potential, his methods are limited to dragons. And then, a new thought struck him. It's not dragons who are the strongest, but humans. In ancient times, there were the 5 great sacred beasts, but there were also the 10 great sovereigns. These sovereigns weren't born with talents or gifts. They rose from weakness to strength, mastering the Tao and creating arts that made humanity strong. Zhuo Fan realized that while the dragon ancestors' way of using the dragon soul was powerful, it wasn't absolute. I can create a better way, something beyond even the orthodox inheritance. That's what sets humans apart. His confusion vanished, replaced by a surge of confidence. His lips curved into a smile, and a fire of determination lit in his eyes. Ye Lin might have the dragon race's rightful inheritance, but that didn't matter. Zhuo Fan had something even better, a dragon soul imbued with countless powers, and he was going to make it stronger than ever. This realization filled Zhuo Fan with a burning desire to fight. He cupped his hands respectfully and said, "Thank you, Senior. Your guidance has given me clarity. Now I know how to face him." Danking Shen laughed heartily. "I didn't do much. It was your own understanding that brought you here. Still, I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Refine that heaven dragon soul of yours and make that brat realize the truth, that your so-called second-rate dragon soul will surpass his orthodox one. Ha ha ha!" He pointed to Zhuo Fan's ring. "Although I didn't help much, I'll still take my payment. I assume you're fine with that?" Zhuo Fan chuckled. "Of course, Senior. For your advice, I'd follow you into the depths of danger. Please, after you." Danking Shen's laughter echoed as he disappeared into the ring, ready to tag along for the next adventure. As the day gave way to dusk, Zhuo Fan returned to the demon scheming sect's lodgings. His mind buzzed with thoughts about how to refine his heaven dragon soul in the next 3 days. But as he stepped into the courtyard, familiar faces greeted him. Chu Qingqing, Yongning, Shuang'er, and even the girls from the mystical heaven sect. Zhuo Fan paused, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. What are they all doing here? Before he could voice his thoughts, Fiend Yang approached him. "Where have you been? No one's seen you since the Superior 3 Sect stage ended. I thought something might have happened." "Nothing happened," Zhuo Fan replied casually. "But I'm more curious about why all of you are gathered here." Fiend Yang shrugged. "You're usually fine, but considering there's another freakish guy out there, I worried you two might have gotten into a fight somewhere. These ladies were worried too, believe it or not. I must say you've got quite the following. You've only been here a short while and already gathered an entourage of women." Shui Ruohua blushed and glared at him. "Venerable, please, be serious. We're only here because of Qing Cheng." Fiend Yang smirked but didn't push further. Meanwhile, Chu Qingqing remained calm and composed, her faint smile betraying nothing. "Ye Lin isn't someone ordinary. He might even be stronger than you. Are you still planning to fight him?" "Of course," Zhuo Fan replied without hesitation. "That's precisely why I must fight." Chu Qingqing looked at him deeply. "Do you believe you can win?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. "Do you?" Her smile widened. "Of course." "Really? Not even I believe that," Zhuo Fan admitted, his tone tinged with a rare vulnerability. "To be honest, I don't feel confident at all. This time I'll probably lose." Chu Qingqing chuckled softly. "What's this? The great steward Zhuo, lacking confidence for once?" Zhuo Fan's mind wandered to Ye Lin's overwhelming golden flame and his orthodox heaven dragon soul. His face darkened as he thought about how he might counter them. "Do you really want to fight him?" Chu Qingqing asked again, her voice soft yet probing. Zhuo Fan nodded firmly. "Even if the odds are against me, I have to fight. This is a challenge I can't run from. It's fate." Chu Qingqing's smile deepened. "Then you will win." Her quiet confidence startled Zhuo Fan. He didn't know how to respond. Without another word, Chu Qingqing turned to leave, addressing the others as she walked. "He needs time to prepare. Let's not disturb him." The girls exchanged confused looks. "That's it?" they seemed to ask silently. After coming all this way, she had barely spoken to him. Yongning and Shuang'er, in particular, were baffled. They had hoped to see Chu Qingcheng grow closer to Zhuo Fan, but their interaction seemed so distant. Yongning rushed after her. "Sister Qingcheng, is that all you had to ask? Just whether he'll fight? What's the deal between you two?" "There's nothing going on," Chu Qingcheng replied with a serene smile. "I just wanted to know what he wanted to do so I could support him. That's all that matters." The other girls looked at each other, their confusion growing. How can that be all? Shouldn't she encourage him or express her feelings? Only Yun Shuang seemed to understand. "Sister Qingcheng, if even Zhuo Fan doesn't believe he can win, why are you so certain he will?" Chu Qingcheng's smile softened. "Isn't it obvious? Because he truly wants to win. And when Zhuo Fan puts his heart into something, I have no doubt he'll succeed." Her unwavering faith in him left the girls thoughtful. It wasn't loud declarations or grand gestures, but a quiet, mutual understanding. In their eyes, it was the purest form of love, a bond that needed no words. Back in the courtyard, Zhuo Fan remained standing, watching Chu Qingcheng leave. He muttered to himself, "That girl. She understands me better than I understand myself." Fiend Yang, standing nearby, broke the silence. "Zhuo Fan, are you really preparing for this fight? You've been through so many battles in the Double Dragon Manor without even trying. Why now?" Zhuo Fan's gaze turned resolute. Those fights didn't matter. The opponents were weak. But this time, it's different. This fight, it's everything. If I back down now, my future cultivation will stagnate. A true cultivator must face their challenges head-on, even if it means risking everything. With that, he walked into his room and closed the door behind him. "Tell everyone I'll be in seclusion for 3 days," he called out. "I will defeat Ye Lin." Fiend Yang's heart trembled at Zhuo Fan's determination. Glancing in the direction Chu Qingcheng had gone, he chuckled. Those two, they truly understand each other. She says he'll win, and now he's ready to risk it all. Maybe she's right. When Zhuo Fan decides on something, there's no stopping him. His voice rose with newfound vigor. "If Zhuo Fan's willing to fight to the death, then we, the demon-scheming sect, will stand with him no matter the cost."